You think you know Tamela Mann, the beloved gospel singer, the soft-spoken powerhouse. But behind the music, behind the smiles, there's a side of her that almost no one has ever seen. Bishop J. Sheard has finally spoken, revealing a side of Tamela Mann that will shock even her most devoted fans. What he said could change the way you look at her forever. And the truth, it's far more ruthless than anyone imagined. Tamela Mann, a name that's synonymous with gospel royalty, soulful ballads, and unwavering faith. But what if everything you thought you knew about her was only part of the story? Bishop J. Sheard, a close observer of her career and personal journey, has pulled back the curtain, revealing truths that fans have never heard before. You won't believe what happened behind the scenes. The moments that tested her relationships, and the decisions that showed just how relentless she can be when pursuing her goals. This is where it gets unbelievable, because the image of Tamela Mann as gentle and sweet is only half the story. The other half is fierce, calculated, and sometimes ruthless. In this video, we're diving deep into Bishop Sheard's revelations. From private moments that shocked the gospel community to behind-the-scenes stories that make her rise to stardom even more remarkable, you're about to see a side of Tamela Mann that rarely gets talked about. Stay with us, because what comes next could completely change how you view one of gospel music's most beloved figures. When most people see Tamela Mann on stage, they see a performer pouring her heart out through music. They hear the soulful voice, the emotional ballads, and the uplifting messages that have touched millions. But according to Bishop J. Sheard, there's a side of Tamela that rarely reaches the public, a side defined by unrelenting ambition and strategic ruthlessness. She's not just talented, she's intentional, Bishop Sheard explains. She knows exactly what she wants, and she's willing to make the moves necessary to get there. Tamela's rise in the gospel world wasn't accidental. Behind the camera, she's known for being fiercely protective of her career, meticulously planning every step. From choosing collaborations to deciding which songs to release, her decisions are calculated. Some colleagues describe her as someone who won't hesitate to confront anyone who threatens her vision, whether friend, rival, or even family. But what makes this even more shocking is the way she balances this ruthlessness with her public persona. To the world, she's the warm, loving, soft-spoken Tamela. Privately, she's a strategist who doesn't allow anyone to derail her plans. Bishop Sheard notes that this duality is what has allowed her to survive challenges that would have broken others in the gospel industry. And just when you think you've seen the full picture, there's a story he shared that truly highlights her edge, one that made even seasoned insiders pause. But we'll get to that in a moment. This is just the beginning, because the next section reveals how her relationships and alliances were tested in ways that almost derailed her entirely. Tamela Mann's reputation for warmth and kindness has earned her countless fans, but behind the scenes, Bishop J. Sheard reveals a side that few ever witness, the side that protects her ambitions at all costs, even in personal relationships. You might think she's all heart, Bishop Sheard admits, but don't let that fool you. When it comes to what she believes in, she doesn't compromise. Not for friends, not for family, not even for love. Insiders describe moments when Tamela had to make difficult choices that tested her closest relationships. There were opportunities to collaborate with peers in the gospel industry that could have been lucrative, but came with strings attached she wasn't willing to accept. She chose her vision over personal convenience, and in doing so, some allies felt sidelined or even betrayed. One story Bishop Sheard shared is particularly striking. During a major gospel tour years ago, Tamela faced pressure to bend her schedule to accommodate other artists' agendas. Instead of yielding, she restructured her commitments entirely to ensure her vision remained intact. Some were stunned by her audacity, calling her decisions ruthless in private conversations. But Bishop Sheard points out, it wasn't cruelty, it was clarity. She knows what she wants, he explains. And she knows that sometimes, achieving it requires tough choices. Her marriage to David Mann also reflects this balance of ambition and ruthlessness. While their love and partnership are publicly celebrated, Bishop Sheard hints that navigating fame and ministry requires a sharp edge, one that Tamela isn't afraid to use. Behind closed doors, she holds firm boundaries, ensuring that her personal and professional life don't get blurred or exploited. This has earned respect, but it's also sparked tension at times, forcing her to confront even those closest to her when lines were crossed. The real shocker, however, comes when you consider how this approach has influenced her broader career. Tamela Mann's strategic ruthlessness didn't just shape her relationships, it directly fueled some of the most unexpected breakthroughs in her career. Bishop Sheard notes that some of her boldest moves seemed risky to outsiders, but were calculated with precision. And one of these moves, in particular, almost changed the trajectory of gospel music entirely. But before we get to that, we need to explore the next chapter, how Tamela's ruthlessness in the industry positioned her in ways that stunned even veteran gospel insiders. Tamela Mann's rise in gospel music wasn't just about talent, it was about timing, strategy, and a ruthless determination to claim her place at the top. Bishop J. Drew Sheard doesn't hold back when describing how she maneuvered through an industry known for competition, egos, and hidden agendas. She knows the landscape better than anyone, Sheard explains. And she's not afraid to make moves that others wouldn't even consider. That's what makes her dangerous in the best way possible. One of the most astonishing examples comes from her collaborations. Early in her solo career, Tamela was presented with multiple high-profile opportunities, including a potential duet that could have skyrocketed her fame. But instead of taking the first offer, she calculated which partnership would give her the maximum impact and long-term credibility. She turned down the more lucrative deal and waited, a choice that shocked managers and promoters who didn't understand her patience. That decision paid off, catapulting her career to heights few had predicted. Bishop Sheard also reveals that Tamela's ruthlessness extends to her awareness of competition. In a world where rivalries can make or break careers, she is known for quietly observing other artists, analyzing their strengths and weaknesses, and using those insights to her advantage. It's not malicious, it's tactical. She's described as someone who understands that in the gospel industry, talent alone isn't enough. Without strategy, even the most gifted artists can fade into obscurity. And then, there's the story of a major industry event that almost turned into a scandal. Tamela was offered a prominent role alongside several top artists, but conflicts over billing, song choices, and stage time created tension behind the scenes. Rather than bowing to pressure or compromising her standards, she made bold demands risks that could have backfired. Some insiders called her decisions reckless, but Bishop Sheard says this was classic Tamela, calculated, fearless, and undeniably effective. Her insistence on maintaining control not only preserved her image, but ultimately elevated her standing in the gospel world. What many fans don't realize is that her ruthlessness is balanced by an unmatched work ethic. Long hours in the studio, meticulous rehearsal schedules, and a refusal to settle for mediocrity make her a force to be reckoned with. Bishop Sheard emphasizes that this combination of talent, strategy, and calculated ruthlessness is what sets her apart from almost every other artist in gospel music. And just when you think the story has reached its peak, there's one revelation Bishop Sheard shared that shocks even the most devoted followers. A behind-the-scenes decision Tamela made that almost changed the trajectory of a legendary gospel event. It's the kind of moment that could have ended careers, but for Tamela, it became a defining triumph. Next, we'll dive into that moment and uncover the shocking consequences of her ruthless decisions, the ones that few outside the inner circle will ever know. Bishop J. Drew Sheard recalls one of the most intense moments in Tamela Mann's career, a point where her ruthlessness wasn't just strategic, it was survival. It was a pivotal gospel event, one of the biggest stages in the industry, featuring multiple renowned artists, media coverage, and an audience of thousands. For most, this would be a dream opportunity. But behind the curtains, tensions were escalating, and Tamela faced a decision that could make or break her career. The issue centered around control over her performance, her presentation, and even the songs she would sing. Promoters and fellow artists were pushing for compromises that could have diluted her impact. Most artists would have folded, afraid to disrupt the delicate balance of egos and expectations. Not Tamela. She didn't just stand her ground, Bishop Sheard explains. She drew the line, and she did it without hesitation. There was no negotiation. That's when you realize she's ruthless, but she's ruthlessly smart. Insiders say that in private, there were heated conversations, late-night calls, and moments where many feared she had gone too far. Some believed her career might take a hit. or worse, that the event could turn into a public disaster. But Tamela's preparation, her understanding of the industry, and her unshakable confidence turned the situation on its head. She managed to assert control, deliver a breathtaking performance, and leave a lasting impression that elevated her reputation even further. What makes this revelation so shocking isn't just her ability to navigate high-stakes situations, it's the calculated risk she took knowing that one misstep could cost her everything. Bishop Sheard points out that this kind of ruthlessness isn't about ego or arrogance, it's about vision. Tamela sees the bigger picture, the legacy she wants to leave, and she refuses to let anything or anyone compromise that. Yet, the fallout of this moment was subtle but powerful. Relationships were tested, trust was challenged, and alliances shifted. Some colleagues respected her more than ever, while others quietly resented her unwavering stance. It's a delicate balance she's maintained ever since, a mix of admiration, envy, and awe that surrounds her in the gospel community. And here's the part that few know. Behind her public smile and celebrated persona, there were private doubts and moments of exhaustion. Tamela Mann's ruthlessness isn't born from cruelty. It's born from the relentless pressure to excel in a world where mistakes are magnified and opportunities are fleeting. Bishop Sheard notes that understanding this duality, the fierce, strategic side paired with the vulnerable, human side, is key to understanding the true Tamela Mann. Tamela Mann's story is not just about talent, fame, or music. It's about the relentless drive to define herself on her own terms. Bishop J. Drew Sheard emphasizes that her ruthlessness, far from being a flaw, is part of what has made her a legend in the gospel industry. She's a force, Sheard says. Not everyone can handle her intensity, but that intensity is what allows her to create, inspire, and lead with authenticity. Every strategic move, every bold decision, every calculated risk has shaped a legacy few can rival. From turning down lucrative opportunities to asserting control over her performances, Tamela has consistently shown that success in gospel music isn't just about voice, it's about vision. And vision, as Bishop Sheard explains, sometimes requires ruthlessness. But there's another side to this story, one that makes her truly remarkable. Despite the hard decisions, the calculated moves, and the moments of controversy, Tamela has never lost her heart for people. Her generosity, mentorship, and unwavering faith shine through in ways that soften the edges of her strategic ruthlessness. It's this balance, fierce yet compassionate, relentless yet grounded, that has earned her respect across the gospel community. Her impact goes beyond awards or chart-topping hits. She has inspired countless aspiring artists to understand that achieving greatness demands courage, clarity, and sometimes the courage to say no when the world expects you to say yes. Bishop Sheard highlights that Tamela's journey is a masterclass in resilience in maintaining integrity while navigating an industry filled with competition, politics, and pressure. And perhaps the most revealing truth is this: Tamela Mann's ruthlessness is not a mask, it's a conscious choice, a tool she wields to protect her vision, her family, and her legacy. It's what allowed her to survive setbacks, rise above criticism, and remain a dominant force in gospel music for decades. In the end, what we see publicly, the performances, the smiles, the uplifting songs, is only part of the story. Behind it, all is a woman who knows her worth, knows her purpose, and isn't afraid to make the tough decisions necessary to preserve it. Bishop Sheard's revelations remind us that greatness often comes with a price, and those who achieve it are not always gentle in their pursuit. They are determined, strategic, and yes, sometimes ruthless. So the next time you hear Tamela Mann's voice soaring through a song, remember the story behind it, a story of fierce ambition, calculated moves, and a relentless commitment to excellence. She is, as Bishop Sheard describes, truly one of a kind. This is the truth few dare to speak about, and now you've seen the side of Tamela Mann that defines her beyond the spotlight.